All right, fuck this shit. Damn, I wanted to. Welcome back to another episode of the Miami Heat Roundtable. We're live today. We're doing a quick Clippers versus Miami Heat preview. I don't know why we're doing this because the Miami Heat obviously suck. They're on a 4-game losing streak, guys. The Heat's nightmare has continued. They've blown double-digit lead after double-digit lead. They've blown now 15 games that it's led in the fourth quarter and by double digits. And the Heat have fallen to 29 and 35. We're ninth in the East. The Chicago Bulls are on a 3-game win streak. I didn't think they were going to be able to surpass us, but if the Miami Heat keep losing and the Bulls keep winning, there is a chance that we get the 10th seed. So what a freaking mess. The Heat are 13 and 20, guys, since January 1st. We've lost 5 out of the last 6. So tonight, the Miami Heat are playing against the Clippers, and guess what? Kawhi Leonard is out. Norman Powell, who's been playing like an all-star, is out. Ben Simmons is also out. And the Miami Heat are pretty healthy, and we're only favored by 2 at home. That's how bad it is for the Miami Heat right now. So, Trent, what do you think is going to happen tonight? What's your prediction for the game? You mentioned earlier offline, they still got James Harden. They still got Zubac. Like, do you think the Miami Heat will be able to avoid a 5-game losing streak, or do you think this team is cooked?
Well, I mean, it's tough because this team is weird. Like, this team will go out here and beat, like, a top-tier team, like maybe like Clippers or the Celtics, and then lose to the Hornets and the Bulls. So, like, it's weird. Like, you know what I mean? But, like, I don't know what this team's going to come. If Terry's playing, then we probably will lose. If he's not playing, we'll probably win. I heard he was questionable or something like that. But James Harden has been playing amazing basketball since All-Star break, man. I mean, his last 4, he put up 50, 27, 29, and 25 and had a game-winning bucket. So, I mean, we still got to watch out for James. James is used to playing without Kawhi Leonard anyways. You know what I mean? The interesting part is that Ty Lue's out. So, he's having some back issues, so he won't be coaching today. And that's true, Amir. Like, I'm not making this up. Like, Ty Lue's actually out. So that Brian Shaw, I believe that's going to be the coach that's going to be stepping up. But one thing I just don't want to hear today from Spo is Spo saying the same thing over and over in the press conference. That is one of the most aggravating things in the world. I know y'all probably seen it. He's like, it's like, we got to keep forging or the tent's going to fold or something like this. Like, shut up, Spo. You're just talking to talk, bro.
What do you want him to say, though? You want him to say, like, be real? Because coaches can't be real. They got to have a positive spin. But do you want him to not, like, use these metaphors and just be like, it is what it is. We're struggling. We need to do better, right? You're saying, would you rather have that versus these, like, metaphors and all this shit?
I mean, I get it. Like, you're not going to call your team out, but, like, at this point, maybe you should, bro. We're on a 4-game losing streak, bro. Like, we're 12 and 21 since January 2nd. They have the 26th ranked offensive rating. Since then, like, I mean, this team has been awful. I mean, the only thing that you can look at and be like, okay, it has been defense is defensively. We're like 15th rank, and that's still mid-pack. So it's just like, it's tough. And then Wiggins has missed time. Think he's back now, but it's just like, how do these injuries just randomly occur? How do they randomly just pop up? Like, the same thing with Terry, same thing with, A-Wig. So, I mean, hopefully you win. I don't know. What are we going to do?
He's been solid, though. Wiggins has been good, but it hasn't contributed to winning. It's crazy because, yes, Tyler's playing well, but he's been pretty inefficient. Remember early in the year before he was an all-star, for the first 2 months, he was shooting like 44% for the first month. We knew that wouldn't last, but he was still shooting like 41%, right? He was still shooting lights out. And now he's shooting only 37%, which is still very respectable. It's high. He's made the 5th most threes in the league. Even that's come down, right? And Bam has been playing a lot better, guys, since All-Star break. He's averaging like 23 and 11. So he's been great, but it's not contributing to winning. Andrew Wiggins is averaging close to 19, 20 points per game in the last 6. Like, why is it not leading to winning? Anyway, Martel, what are your thoughts? The Clippers have a bunch of guys out. What happens when the Heat play teams that are unmanned? Like Chicago, like the Hornets who had missing players, or even the good teams that have had missing players. Like, do we have a shot tonight?
The problem is that this Miami Heat team is cooked. I'm not even worrying about this season. This season really doesn't really matter to me anymore because the players don't care. We care more than the players in this era, unfortunately. My biggest thing is, what are we going to do going forward? Do they believe in Tyler Hero? Because, I mean, Tyler Hero, he has been in a slump. Obviously, Bam Adebayo is untradeable. Terry Rozier, he stinks. Jaime Jaquez Jr., he can't shoot, and he desperately needs to work on his game. Are they going to use Jovic the right way going forward? He is a playmaker and a ball handler. They cannot just make him a spot up 3-point shooter. And then also, too, do they believe in Wiggins? What are we going to do with Wiggins? Is he going to be a future piece that we trade? Are we going to keep him? These are the type of questions. Same thing with Duncan Robinson. Next season, his contract is partially guaranteed. They've been trying to trade him forever. What is this Miami Heat team going to do going forward? I know that you guys mentioned Spo. Spo has to go up there and just say, this Heat culture mantra, even though it's dead. Spo has to be cooked. This team has to be cooked. Them losing to these teams, blowing. How on earth, bro? They're playing like a lottery team right now. They're playing like the Utah Jazz. They're competitive. They keep it competitive. They kind of go up and down. And then at the end of the game, they don't play any defense. And then the whole game gets thrown away. So to be honest with you guys, they're probably going to lose only because James Harden, he always plays great against the Miami Heat. And then also, too, with Zubac. Zubac's going to give Bam and Khalil Well hell tonight.
Especially Khalil Ware, dude. Zubac, he's been beasting. He's getting double teamed. He's like a traditional big, that 7-footer who has a back to the basket game. He has good touch in the paint. And he weighs like whatever the hell he weighs, 250, 260. Khalil Ware is like 220, right? So he's going to get crushed tonight. So he's going to get double teamed a lot. And they're still going to be kicking it out to Harden and whoever, Amir Coffey, whoever else is on the team right now, because half their team is out. And those guys are still going to cook us, I think, tonight. I think we lose, go on a 5-game losing streak. We're 6-19 since February 1st. Isn't that crazy? Like in the last 19 games, we've won like 6 times. Like the most we've won this season is a 4-game or 3-game winning streak. I don't think we've done a 4-game winning streak. I could be wrong, but it's been a very long time since we've pieced together wins. We've used to do a really good job of bouncing back after a bad loss, but 4 losses in a row, man, like it doesn't make sense for this team to win. Like they're not going to tank, but luckily they're not good enough at this point, right? I don't think they're going to compete. Trent, you got to bounce? What are your last thoughts before we bounce?
Man, keep losing. We got a tough start. So we play the Celtics coming up, play Memphis, play the Knicks. And, I think the lowest we can get will be like the 10th seed. I don't think we'll ever drop to the 11th because the Nets just have 20-plus wins, and we're at 29, I believe, or around there. So it'll be hard. But if we get that 10th seed, man, that means we have to win 2 games. And I doubt we win 2 games in a row, man. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's been – how long has it been? I mean, we won 2 games in a row, but that was against Atlanta and then Indiana. Indiana is the last team, Martel, that we beat that was above 500, and that was on February 28th. Before that, the last time we beat a team above 500 was the Golden State Warriors, and that was on January 7th. So since January 7th, we've only beat 2 teams above 500. Martel, what's the Clippers record? Do you know? I don't know what it is, but it's above 500, right? Because they're a top 8 seed in the West. So if you're in the West, you got to be above 500, right? Unlike the East, you could be 7th and 8th, like the Miami Heat, or they're 9th now, I guess. But in the I'll look it up. In the East, you can be the 7th seed, Atlanta Hawks, 31-34, or the Orlando Magic, who are 6 games below 500 that are the 8th seed. If you're in the West, the Clippers are the 8th seed. They're 35-30, Martel. We are literally, Martel, we are 9-23 against teams that are 500 and above. That is horrible. That means 65% of the time that we play any team that's 500 and above, we're going to lose, right? And so we used to also have a really good record against the bad teams. We were at one point like 20-8, but since we lost to the Bulls, since we lost to the Hornets, and since we've lost to the Toronto Raptors last week, we're now 20-12 against those teams. So it's rough.
I mean, like I said, these are all the growing pains of a team that lost their max player. It is what it is. Like, we have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I know that, Eric Spoelstra and all of them will always say this, but it is true. Right now, when you're rebuilding and, changing your players and doing all this stuff, it is what it is. Like, do we like losing? No, but that's a part of basketball. Every single franchise goes through it. We went through it before Jimmy Butler. Now we're going through it without Jimmy Butler. We were a playing team with him or without him. It's just, my biggest thing is just don't go out there and play hard and then go blow the lead in 2 minutes. That's just my only thing. I don't care if we lose. You know what I'm saying? But what is the point of us being up by like 15, 20 points, and then you end up losing the game by like 5 or 10 points? That is the craziest thing I have ever seen in my entire life. Like, that is my biggest issue with this team. Don't go out there, play hard, and then lose in like the last 2 minutes.
What is it in the fourth quarter? Is it Is it they're taking their foot off the gas? Are they not respecting the opponent? Because they're respecting the opponent in the first 3 quarters because they're up by double digit in the last like 7 of the last 9 games. Martel, they've had a double digit lead in the first half, and they've also had a double digit lead in the second half going into the fourth quarter. And are they taking their foot off the gas? What is it? Because like, are they because like your boy Kyle, shout out to Kyle, Intangible Hoops, right? He was saying like they must not be respecting their opponents. But I'm like, are they respecting them for 3 quarters and then they shit the bed going into the fourth quarter? Adele says it's what mediocre teams do. Superstars are closers. Yeah, and like, I mean, even elite all-stars are closers as well at like more times than not. Like, in Tyler Hero, who's had a great season, first-time All-Star. Shout out to Tyler Hero. I'm a Tyler Hero fan. His clutch efforts, he's shooting like the worst percentages, right? Of like all the players that have shot X amount of clutch shots in the fourth quarter, right? Did you see that stat, Martel? That's also playing a factor. Like, Tyler hasn't been clutch in those moments, and it's not his fault that we've lost the game collectively, but he's not bailing us out, right? Like, he was bailing us out a little bit earlier in the year, but in the last month and a half or so, to Adele's point, he's saying superstar. I still think all-stars should be able to help close out games too, right? If you have a superstar like Shea, Jokic, or Joker, like those type of Curry, of course they're going to help you close, but I think those all-stars are still capable. Cade Cunningham is closing games for the freaking Pistons, right?
Yeah.
They're killing it this year.
The problem is, though, is just like nothing has ever came easy for this Miami Heat team. So what I mean by that is like, even when you look at when Jimmy was here, okay, Tyler, he struggles. I mean, I think he's doing a way better job than he's ever has in terms of getting past his defenders without being, screened every single time. I think he's doing better with that. But even with him, the offense doesn't come easy with Bam. We do not have a playmaking point guard. Having a playmaking point guard would have solved a lot of these issues, especially it would help Bam Adebayo get in better spots. It would help Khalil Ware. Bro, just give me 50% of Chris Paul on this roster. Every single team that Chris Paul goes to, he completely transforms the whole roster. Why? Because he's a playmaking point guard. He's a floor general. We don't have a play. Davion's great. He's a great defensive point guard, but he's not a playmaking point guard. You need a playmaking point guard to really help this team. That's one of the first things that this Miami Heat team really needs to look forward to next season, a playmaking point guard. When it comes to blowing leads, if you play basketball, you'll be up on a team. And I'm telling you, if you play basketball, it's happened to you before. All of a sudden, like, you're up 8, and then now you're down 2. I don't know. But this team...
The NBA is a game of runs, but like our defense just collapses in these fourth quarters. Sometimes it's pick your poison. It's sometimes our offense, it's sometimes our defense, right? Sometimes it's both in those fourth quarters. Like,
they're not good, though. They're not good.
No, they're not good. And Davion's not a traditional type of point guard, right? Like, yeah, his 3-point shot has been amazing with this Miami Heat team. He's been shooting like in the high 40% or something. That's not sustainable. And he can get to the rack. He's very quick, but I agree with you. Like, if we had like Tyus Jones type of traditional point guard, because there's not that many. Like, obviously, if we had a Chris Paul in his prime type point guard, then we'll be cooking, obviously, right? But there's not that many point guards that are like that or available. Most point guards are score first type point guards, like Steph Curry, like John Morant, like De'Aaron Fox, like Trae Young, right? Like Trae Young, obviously, that's an exception because he leads the league in assists. But we need a floor general who can get guys in their spots, slow the game down. But also, I think going back to what Adele said, we need an all-star. We need a superstar guy who could slow the game down. We can't get to the free throw line and stop the bleeding when these teams are making runs. We're up by 15 in the fourth quarter, and these teams go on these runs on an 8-0, 9-0 run. The game's down to 6. There's no one in the half court that could slow the game down, that can, one, get a bucket like a Kevin Durant, like a Devin Booker, like a Steph Curry, like a Joker, right? Who can get that bucket and score for us. We don't have a 28 per game, 30-point game scorer, a Giannis who can get downhill and beast people. Like, obviously, that's like something we don't have. Or a Jimmy Butler who is obviously savvy, who can get to the free throw line like he's doing for the Golden State Warriors, which is helping them because Steph Curry is getting one of the worst whistles for any superstar like in the history of the game, right? Steph Curry, like all Warrior fans complain about Steph not getting to the line enough, which I think is true. they don't have to worry about that as much. And then they also have another playmaker in Jimmy Butler. So Jimmy Butler kind of was that de facto point guard for us too. You know, he was someone who could dribble, he could handle the ball, and he's someone who's clutch, obviously, and someone who can get to the free throw line. And we don't have that because Tyler doesn't get to the free throw line like that. Bam Adebayo doesn't get to the free throw line like that. Andrew Wiggins doesn't get to the free throw line. So it's like we don't have someone enough that could do that or that is elite enough offensively that can sustain those runs because the NBA is a game of runs. So I think it's the defense too. A lot of it is the defense. It is the offense too getting stale at times. And we're shooting, Martel, in these last 15 games or so, Martel, we're shooting 26% from 3 in the fourth quarter. So like the games that we are winning and up by 15 in the first half and 12 going into the fourth quarter, we're shooting like high 48%, 50% at times in the fourth quarter. That we regress to the mean, which is 26%, and that drives our percentages down, and we've lost. So it's fourth quarters, man. It's the new Turk quarter. We've in the last 7 games or so, the Miami Heat, or no, since what was the date? Since January 1st, Martel, we've been outscored by 111 in the fourth quarter. That is just embarrassing. That's it. That's the ball game. That delta right there is so huge. That means we're just getting blown out, and it's completely changing the trajectory of the season. Yes, they're still a bad team. We could also say if they only blew half of these leads, they could be the 6th seed, but that's not the reality, right? Woulda, coulda, shoulda. They are the 9th seed. So anyway, that's all I have. Anything else, Martel, do you want to go over before we close?
Guys, make sure that you guys like, share, comment, subscribe. Make sure that you guys go to Amir's channel, Team to Beat Miami Heat on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure that you guys go to Trent's channel, the Miami Heat Network, and Top Notch Sports Takes. And also, too, of course, we're pushing the 6,000 subscribers at the Miami Heat Zone podcast. Make sure that you guys like, share, comment, subscribe. And thank you guys for all the support.